Being part of the ISV Connect program helps our visibility with Microsoft sellers, which in turn helps us when we're introduced to new partners.
It has accelerated our entrance into new markets, and our product is developing with higher quality and at higher speed than it would otherwise have.
Things like ISV licensing, handling our licenses just like any Microsoft first-party applications. We see that as a big benefit.
What ISV Connect program introduced is very different level of confidence with our customer. And with the Microsoft expanding the program, we are expecting to grow our ISV portfolio significantly.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of ISV Connect Live. I'm your host, Brian Galicia. I lead our global Dynamics 365 ISV business here. It's another amazing Monday. Thank you so much for everyone making the time to kind of listen and learn. We have another amazing ISV called InContext. Melissa, the Chief Operating Officer of the organization, is here with me. And before I allow her to take the stage and do quick introductions and go through the various topics we typically go through, let me set the stage for things that you can consider while you're watching this event. First off, if you're watching live, we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So maybe you're watching it from the Chicago area where Melissa is, or me from Seattle, or anywhere in the US, or maybe internationally. We'd love to hear where you're watching from. So in the LinkedIn window, if you just want to type in the location, we'll give you a quick shout out the first half of the event. And again, an appreciation for you joining. The second is if you have a question, maybe there's something that Melissa's talking about or that we're having a dialogue in that really resonates with you and you have a real-time question. We usually always have time for at least one question to ask in real time. So feel free again to use the LinkedIn comments. Type in a question, we'll see it, and we'll be able to ask that question to Melissa in real time. And then finally, during the event, if there's content that's really resonating with you, or you find that, wow, that's really interesting, if you want to utilize one of the emoji icons, the like, celebrate, etc., that also gives us an indication that the content is really resonating. So without further ado, Melissa, thank you so much for making the time out of your busy schedule, especially on a Monday morning, to talk about the goodness of InContext, because you are a fairly new Dynamics 365 or Microsoft ISV that has come to the stage. And we really wanted to showcase what you do, because it's very fascinating in the prep work we did last week. And as I've gotten to know what your organization does, I'm super excited for many people to start to know who InContext is. So maybe we can start out. What do you do in the organization? What's your role? And then one thing I always like to ask my guests are what's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing to the broad world, either people watching live or who watch the replay recording.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much for hosting InContext and for hosting me here this morning. I'm our Chief Operating Officer, so there isn't much that I don't do at InContext. I've got my hands in a little bit of everything, but definitely one of my priorities is working with our partners, and just thrilled with this inaugural year as an ISV partner with Microsoft. It has been a really exciting journey and one that we're looking forward to continuing for a long time. But maybe to better answer your question, my role day to day, I'm working with our sales and marketing team as well as our partnership teams, and then the glue between our product and engineering team. So really listening and hearing what our clients and partners need from us, and then working closely with our teams internally to pull that together.
I love it. So maybe you could share again, I know you have a dog, so we want to hear your dog ruffling around during the event, which is totally fine because I also have a dog as well. But what's one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile and maybe that you're open to sharing, something that's really you're passionate about or something you do outside of work?
Oh, well, gosh. I think that something I do outside of work, I'm a runner, so I really use that time to reflect, and some of my best ideas I think actually come when I'm on runs and it's like all the other distraction is gone and you're really just kind of cranking and thinking through all the challenges of the day. So definitely that's the big part of me. You'd warned me to have something ready in terms of what, something to share about me. So something a little bit more flavorful, I guess, is that my favorite city in the world is Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Love Paris. Developed a love for the city when I was in undergrad. I had the opportunity to study abroad there. And this summer, went back, and it was the first time I was able to go with my family.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was just really amazing and special to be the tour guide of a city that I love and kind of see them experience it for the first time. So that was a once in a lifetime, very special thing.
I love it, Melissa. Gosh, there's two meaty things there. Well, two quick things. One would be, have you done a marathon on it? If so,
No, and I have no desire to. I am in awe of marathoners, but that is not my distance.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, and I've always told myself, gosh, if I have an opportunity before, I can't do it anymore. Being able to do that, because I can imagine 26 miles. It's in one sitting. Seems like
I'm more of a triathlon kind of girl, right?
Yeah.
Like not too much of anything.
Little everything. Yeah, I love it. And then the second one is, I love it because Paris is one of, a beautiful city in Europe and one of my favorite spots. I assume, do you speak French?
I do. Yeah. I say that like hesitantly because I don't use it as much as I used to, but yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So before we get started, let me do a quick shout out for people. And thank you so much for the people who are putting comments in the window. Paula, thank you for watching. You're just kind of north of me in Kirkland, Washington. John, thank you for watching from Atlanta, Georgia. Peter from Belgium. So thank you so much. Another beautiful place. I was able to go to Belgium for the first time. Anyone who's watched prior ISV Connect live shows, I did comment that I was actually in Belgium for the very first time. The chocolate, the waffles, everything you think about Belgium, it is like one of those amazing cities and countries. So thank you so much, Peter. And then Casey, again, another European, London is another favorite place of mine to go. So thank you so much. If there's anyone else that wants to put a comment, feel free to. We'll have some time. So Melissa, when we start out, and people who don't know InContext, I know one of the things, I love the term digital twin. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that term, and for people who aren't familiar with that, and you think about e-commerce and retailing and all this stuff, everything's changing, especially in this new world of post-pandemic and all these different buying behaviors and things that have changed because of how we had to do things and things coming back, but hybrid, etc. Maybe give everyone a sense what does InContext do? And the scenarios, the business outcomes. So if you're a customer, a Microsoft seller, maybe another partner listening to this, what are the things that InContext innovates on that drives value to an end customer?
For sure. Love to talk about that. So to your point, digital twins, InContext is a virtual store platform. And the majority of the virtual stores on our platform are digital twins of a physical space. And so we work with retailers and manufacturers and use those digital twins to support them in a number of different ways. They're both bottom and top line effective in terms of saving costs or helping to drive excitement around the shopper experience. So the way to think about how we fit in is when you think about a retail store, and there's changes happening all the time in the retail store, and whether it's the manufacturers or the retailers, they're making those decisions because they're trying to improve the shopper experience or save costs in other ways. But to implement new ideas in a store, first of all, it takes a lot of time between the labor and producing things that are going to go in the store and all of that. The bottom line is it's expensive, and it's a big risk because if it doesn't work for the shoppers, then you have the kind of backing out of it to go and try again. And so the digital twin is a place where you can visualize first. You visualize those changes first in the virtual stores so that when you put them in market, you go into market with complete confidence. And there's a couple of different ways that we help our clients do that. One is just the simple visual aspect of it, being able to see how new ideas will look in the actual store. And that is a great tool for collaboration, internal collaboration, and looking at different ideas. Also for iteration, you don't have to just have one idea you're visualizing. You can have 2, 3, 10 ideas to really get to the best, most innovative idea. The second piece of this is testing. So our platform enables research with shoppers of a particular retailer to actually give feedback on those new changes to the store. And we're tracking where people go, what they look at, what they pick up, and what they purchase. And so when you make your selection of what you're going to go forward with, you've got that shopper data really reinforcing the decision. And then the last piece of it is execution. The best ideas are those that are executed well. That's where you get the real return. And so these visuals become the picture of success that you can take to market with you, whether it's the store associates or the sales representatives, but everyone has the same complete picture of what good looks like. And that helps with getting things into market as intended.
I love it, Melissa. And it's so fascinating because, again, this new world of how people purchase things and the buyer experience, and having the ability to set up a store virtually in this meta, quote unquote, maybe that's not the right term, but I like to think about this meta world of doing things is in doing it at scale, and then driving the execution and learning from it in real time to then be able to see something that happens in the virtual world, and then you then go, wait a second, I just did that virtual world. I'm now going to the store. I'm feeling that same experience in real time, and that's such an exciting thing because it's when I heard about you as an ISV, I'm like, I don't think I've ever come across a software vendor working on our platform in the Dynamics world doing those types of things. So it's real exciting. And I know one of the questions I'm going to ask you is like, hey, where are we seeing that innovation, which will be a couple of questions from now. But maybe you could talk about, Melissa, what's the experience been like? Because you mentioned, I mean, we're starting this journey. You've been working closely with a person on my team to get the solution up and running. And of course, you're listed on our app source and our marketplace. What's that journey? Because you touch, like you mentioned in your role, you touch the selling channel, you touch the alliances and partnerships. What's been that journey with the Microsoft team as you've undertaken the investment going, hey, you know what, we're going to partner with Microsoft to do and impact these retailers to do these amazing things?
So this has just been such a great journey. We're so appreciative to have the opportunity to work with your ISV team. I would say, first and foremost, starting a relationship with we're a small company. And so jumping into something with Microsoft can feel a little daunting and overwhelming at first, but is our ISV partner who really shepherded us through from beginning to end and helped us figure out the right path for InContext to become an ISV partner. And so I think that's one part of it is really, it's a very personal experience for our company, and something that was, we really appreciated that personal touch. And then now that we are starting to get into a rhythm and work with some of the end client teams, I mean, that's just been an amazing kind of exposure that we never would have had outside of our partnership with Microsoft. And so it's, all going in the right direction.
Oh, good. Well, that's great to hear, Melissa. Yeah, because when you think about that, I mean, when you're dealing with $1 billion organization and hundreds of thousands of employees around the world and trying to take that bigness and scale it down in a way that allows you as an amazing ISV that provides a very unique solution for that use case, because Microsoft's never going to do everything. We can't. We just can't scale that way. And when we have industry relevant partners like yourself that are creating innovation, to your point of digital twins and having that virtual store, that's an amazing experience. So maybe you could talk about the history, like how did InContext, I know I'm going off back, but when I think about what you described, Melissa, like what created that opportunity and idea for InContext to kind of come alive, and what did you find that realizing, wait a second, retailers are running into this significant problem because this hybrid world and this virtual world is going to continue to come to life? Like, what was that kind of that journey that brought you to InContext being where you're at in this scenarios and the solution, these amazing solutions that you're bringing to life?
Well, it really actually ties into the point in time when we came together with Microsoft as well. And so I talked a lot about who we are as a company and our foundation. And you heard me talk about shoppers and bringing shoppers into our digital twin or virtual store platform and tracking what they do and all of that sort of good stuff. And what that really led us to is a point where we realized InContext was the expert in what shopping in a 3D or virtual simulation look like. We've had millions of people go through our platform to do that. And so not only do we have the technology to enable that, but we've got the data that helps us understand how shoppers are in a 3D store. And so that led us to this place where thinking about the metaverse, thinking about increasing blur between the physical and digital spaces. We wanted to have our hand at applying this technology to e-commerce. And so that's where we really came together with Microsoft to say, hey, Dynamics 365 commerce platform, if we're able to integrate our 3D shopping experience to the platform that you have in place today, we can make our 3D shopping experiences part of what your ecosystem of clients can enable on their own websites. And so then that brings a whole new level of shopping experience to the people that are going to shop online, to be able to immerse themselves into a store, to be able to get a full experience of what a product is before they actually add it to their basket. And so it was the coming together of those two things that really kind of brought our platform to the next level and to a really new and exciting step in our journey.
I love it, Melissa. And it's funny because we were talking about during the pre-show, of course, both of us have kids. And I was thinking about my youngest daughter because she has played Roblox. I'm sure you might have heard of that. And they have that. I mean, it's amazing. You have this little person running around and they're like, wait a second, that person's walking into a store and imagining what that looked like. Granted, they're potentially, quote unquote, buying things in the meta world. But exactly what you just said, Melissa, is that view of how the shopping experience is continuing to evolve. And it's amazing that you're on this journey with us to go do that. So one of my favorite questions that I always ask is what is, so you kind of set the tone for the use case and the scenario and the value that InContext brings on top of Dynamics 365 and the commerce and the experience in retail. Maybe you could talk about what is that? I know it's early days, but what are some of the stories that you've been able to hear in the conversations we're having? Because I know last week when we were doing the prep for the conversation, some of these names you're sharing with me, it's amazing. And so maybe you can talk about some of these examples. You don't have to give specific names, but maybe you can describe some of these scenarios with some of these large retails that if we said the name, it would immediately go, oh, it would totally make sense. You could talk about some of these customer examples that that we're going after together that's solidifying, again, some of these outcomes that you were describing as a major retailer innovation and outcomes that customers can experience.
Yeah, we've got a number of different engagements that we've been, brought into the co-sellathon that happened recently, and even some earlier conversations than that. I think there have been dozens of really exciting conversations that have started. I've got two in mind that I wanted to share. The first one is related to a manufacturer, and manufacturers have hundreds of sales representatives who are out in the field, and they're going into thousands of retail outlets multiple times a month, so tens of thousands of retail visits. And one of the challenges, or there's a couple of big challenges that this particular company, and I've heard this at a number of different places, are facing. One is the labor shortage. So you've got sales representatives, but there's constant turnover. And so training them and keeping them having a good experience when they're out working in the field, these are all things that are really top of mind for leaders in that area. And kind of match that up with one of the things that they're trying to do when they're out in the store. They're trying to secure more points of interruption where they can showcase their products and try to increase their own sales. And so we're working on an idea where we can utilize the 3D technology with the sales representative when they're actually in the store, so that they're going to be able to visualize the aspects of those points of interruption that are going to help them and the retailer to be more successful. So imagine, I'm sure you've used an app before where you can visualize like a new sofa or a table in your house before you buy it. It's the same idea, but in this case, it applies to things like displays or end caps or fixtures that we're talking about bringing into the store. And so the sales representative and the store manager, they can actually have a conversation together in the store, taking this virtual content from our digital twin platform and just visualizing it on their device when they're in the store working together. So that's a pretty cool idea that we're working through, and one that helps with two important things. Like one, if you're new to this, you're going to have a hard time articulating all the details about these units that need to go into the store. So it really is a picture telling 1,000 words to make that transaction much more seamless when you're there. And then it helps to make sure that things are going to fit and work when they get there as well. So there's less things being sent back and having to be redone. Another fun one that we're talking about right now, this has to do with a category that the products are very big and cumbersome. And so what that means is that the manufacturer and retailer are limited in the assortment that they can actually have in the store because there's just not space for it on the shelf. And so we were trying to tackle how can we give the shoppers in store more opportunities to experience your product, and then improve the conversion rates of the store because they've got access to more products. So again, kind of obvious, but let's use our virtual technology to help them visualize these products when they're in the store as part of their shopping experiences, whether we're having screens available for them to shop on, or it's shopping that they can do on their device. Similar to how I just talked about the other visualization, being able to see it in person when you're in the store. Now, the thing here that really makes this exciting is that we can, again, leverage this D365 commerce integration to not only be able to visualize the product in the store, but go straight to transaction. And so that there takes it kind of the full step through the buying process, from helping them to see products they normally couldn't see when they're actually in the store, and then being able to purchase it on the spot and have it shipped to them at home. And so anyway, that's a pretty cool one that we're talking about as well.
Well, it's so exciting, Melissa. I mean, those scenarios, you think about it, gosh, it's resourcing, and you hit it spot on, because everywhere, doesn't matter what industry you're in, we're undergoing a recession, but also we're undergoing a situation where it's a labor shortage, or people, like, where do you find the right people to go do things? And then the experience to make it frictionless. So the word I like to use is frictionless. And I love how you articulated, because I was we're all go to a grocery store. Maybe this is a bad example, but you think about the holidays, especially this time of year. They're always having all these holiday displays to showcase different things. And what you described is, well, how do you know, is that the right place to go put it? But I think a simple one was like the soda manufacturer created, I don't know if you've seen this in the Chicago area, but here in the Seattle area, you go in certain stores and they do a creative job to put in these sodas in a way with the coloring of the boxes to make it look like it's Halloween, like a pumpkin or something like that. But what you described, it sounds like, gosh, what an example where a retailer can leverage that. To your point, the store manager and the associate can visualize, like to your point, an end cap, and which is, for people in the retail term, I'm not a retail person, but I know enough. I know that means, like, hey, you walk to the end of an aisle and what shows up, because that's the most meaningful, lucrative place that you want product placement. Because of course, when you're going up and down the aisle, it catches your attention of what you want. And you want those things that are sitting there to grab someone's attention so that they know that, wow, that's the most important thing potentially that they should consider buying. Exactly. And then I love how you talked about making it easy, because who wouldn't want to? You're talking to an associate, and then we've all been in a situation. Associate says, "Oh, to check out, you actually have to go over there, and you have to wait in that line." No one wants to do that. You're like, I'm just talking to you. Can I just do the point of sale right here? And then, of course, if they don't have it in stock or whatever it is, can you just, you have my information, you have my clientele details, can you just now ship it to me? Because we've now had that conversation. It's good I'm hitting those things, because you're shaking your head and go, like, I think I've gotten that sense that's the innovation that we're jointly offering up to potential end customers, that they can then deliver to their end customers to make those retailing experiences better. Is that, did I summarize that, what you said, kind of?
Absolutely. It's because you've got the full experience of whatever it is you're deciding on. If you're a store manager, you're deciding on which displays you're going to have in the store. If you're a shopper and you're trying to make a decision on a product you're going to purchase, you can see it in its full state, even if it's not able to be there in stock. And then seamlessly, pushing the button to make the decision and get it sent to your home. Yeah,
I love it, Melissa. Hey, so before we have about 5 minutes left, and there are a couple of other people that put stuff in the window. I'll flash up on the screen, but maybe one follow-up thing is, I know this is a question. It depends. But when someone decides, wow, this is in context and I'm going to deploy it, what on average, like how long would it take for someone to realize that value? Is it days? Is it weeks? Is it like, I know it will depend on the scenario, but in general, what you, for your experience and the deployments you've done, and this also helps people to understand like, wow, this is amazing innovation, but what's the cost to actually take advantage of it? Maybe you can talk about it in a few minutes, or a few seconds. What does that mean?
Well, the great thing is that we have hundreds of digital twins available on our platform. So if it's a question of being able to visualize something, if it's one of the digital twins on our platform, that can be turned on immediately for someone to be getting value out of. And then when you think about some of the kind of near-in quick wins, being able to test with shoppers or to create any and deploy any sort of those visualizations out to a field force, that could take anywhere from weeks to months, just depending on how complex and how many questions need to be answered or how many things need to be visualized. But the really cool thing about doing anything digitally is it doesn't need to exist in the physical world to exist in the digital space. So you're working with agencies or others that are designing ideas and bringing things to life. In that way, we can work with all of that before it ever needs to exist in the physical world. So it does help to make things move much more quickly. And then in terms of deploying, any sort of these programs and whatnot, our team of customer success representatives are hands-on with our clients and really shepherding through. So it's both a software solution and a service solution, because this it can be pretty transformative. And so we really guide and advise our clients along the way.
And I love how you said that, Melissa, because I mean, a lot of companies are investing in customer success management. And it's great to hear that you're doing the same thing, because it is that journey. It's like, hey, it's not just, hey, I deploy it once and hey, you're done, but that constant innovation so that people understand how to really maximize the technology and the service that you're providing in conjunction with us. I love hearing that. So before we wrap up and get to our last question, let me just do a quick summary. So Kaja, and I apologize, I hope I pronounced your name. Thank you for watching from India. I know it's super, I mean, it's essentially the next day, your time. So thank you for making the time to kind of listen in on the great conversation I've been having with Melissa from InContext. And Rob, thanks for making the time from sunny California, just south of Washington and Oregon, for those of you thinking about the U.S. geography. So to wrap up, Melissa, maybe you can talk about next steps. I'll flash up a scenario here for kind of a website, but maybe you could talk about if it's a Microsoft contact listening to this, what should they be thinking about? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's another partner, software integrator, another ISV that's like, wow, this is interesting. This comes up in my Dynamics deployments. How should they think about partnering with you? And then finally, of course, if we are fortunate enough to maybe have someone replay or live that you're a retailer, you're like, wow, this is super interesting. I haven't thought about this. Yeah. Maybe some examples of what you would recommend people do next. What are next steps that people can take?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'd love to talk to anyone who is interested in what we've got to say. We're obviously on the D365 app source, so there you can search for InContext there, and you've got all our contact information. Going to incontextsolutions.com to our website. Certainly reaching out to myself on LinkedIn. Be pretty easy to find me there.
Yeah, I love it, Melissa. And so I put on the window, if people want to take a screenshot of this and save it for later. As Melissa said, InContext is listed on the Microsoft App Source. And so that's just a quick shortcut to do there. I know Paula flashed up this at the end. You can take a screenshot of this too. A little bit harder to remember that long URL, but if you're in the LinkedIn experience, of course, you can click on it and save it for later. That takes you to the same site. So thanks, Paula, for posting that. And let me just see here. A couple people put a thing. So thanks, Jim, for taking the time. I appreciate it. I'm glad that the conversation between Melissa and I resonated. And again, yeah, thanks, Paula, for commenting that as well. Great. I love it. This is for us, at least for me, it is an amazing way to start a Monday, because I get a chance to highlight some amazing partners and ISVs, and InContext is no exception to that. So excited to continue this journey and start this journey, Melissa, with you and your team. And before, as always, I always try to get a quick video from each of our ISVs, and InContext is no different. We have about a 12-second sizzle video at the end that we can showcase. But as we wrap up, Melissa, any final words or comments you'd like to share before we turn it over and go to the video?
Just thank you for having us here, Brian, and really appreciate the partnership with Microsoft.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Melissa. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you, everyone, for watching live. Thank you, everyone, for maybe coming across this and watching the replay. If you just want to stay on, we'll show this teaser video. Again, we do these ISV Connect live events with our partners every Monday. Next Monday, we'll have another ISV being showcased. I'll post that new link later today. Thanks again, Melissa. Looking forward to further dialogue, and talk soon, everyone. Enjoy this video. Take care.
Welcome to the groundbreaking new era of e-commerce, transforming buying into immersive shopping.